AITA for distancing myself from my family after they believed my ex's lie. I'm Andrew, 37, and for years I thought the worst breakup of my life was with Kara. I was wrong. The real breakup happened when my own family decided her tears mattered more than all the years they had known me. Before all of this, I was the reliable son. Not the loudest one, not the favorite one, not the one people made a fuss over, but the one who showed up. I brought extra folding chairs to holiday dinners because my mother always underestimated how many people would come. I remembered birthdays. I helped my dad carry tables from the garage. I picked up my younger sister Lindsay from the airport without making her feel bad for asking at the last minute. I helped my older brother Mark move 2 times and only complained once, and that was because he owned a couch that seemed personally designed to ruin staircases. My family was messy in the normal way. My mother, Marilyn, was emotional and intense, but she loved big. My father, Robert, was quiet and practical, the kind of man who believed problems got smaller if nobody raised their voice. Lindsay was sharp and opinionated, always ready to make a moral judgment before the room had cooled down. Mark was protective, but mostly of whatever made the family look stable from the outside. And then there was Kara. Kara and I were together for 4 years. From the outside, we looked serious, settled, maybe headed toward marriage if you asked my mother. Kara was charming in a soft way. She remembered people's coffee orders. She laughed at my dad's dry jokes. She texted my mom after dinners and said things like, "Thank you for making me feel like family." She told Lindsay that she had always wanted a sister. My family fell for her hard. At first, I liked that. I had dated women before who felt nervous around my family, but Kara seemed to slide right into the empty spaces. My mother started texting her separately. Lindsay added her to a smaller group chat with my cousins. At Thanksgiving one year, Kara helped my mom in the kitchen while I was outside trying to keep my dad from burning the turkey on the grill. Later that night, my mother pulled me aside while Kara was laughing with Lindsay in the dining room. "She brings out a softer side of you," Mom said. I remember smiling because at the time I thought she meant it as a compliment. The cracks didn't show all at once. They started as little things that were easy to explain away. A shared payment app charge labeled for later. A transfer from our joint bills account that Kara said was for groceries, except the grocery receipt never appeared and the amount was strange. A late-night notification from a man named Evan that disappeared from her lock screen before I could read it. A story that changed slightly every time I asked a normal question. I wasn't searching her phone. I wasn't following her. I wasn't interrogating her friends. I was just noticing that money we both used for bills was going missing, and conversations she said were nothing kept getting deleted. One Saturday morning, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee going cold and asked, "Did you use the rent buffer for something?" Kara didn't look up from her phone. "What?" "The extra money in the shared account. It's lower than it should be." She sighed like I had accused her of a crime. "I told you I had some stuff come up." "What stuff?" "Andrew, please don't start." That was how it usually went. I asked a direct question. She treated the question itself like an attack. Then I got stuck trying to prove I wasn't attacking her instead of getting an answer. Another time, I saw a message pop up while her phone was on the counter between us. "Evan, I miss how easy it is with you." She snatched the phone up so fast her glass tipped over. I just looked at her. She said, "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make that face." "Kara, who is Evan?" "A friend." "You know I have friends." "I'm not asking why you have friends. I'm asking why your friend is texting you like that at midnight." She said I was making something innocent ugly. Then she went into the bedroom and cried loudly enough for me to hear through the door. I didn't break up with her that night. I wish I could say I was decisive, but I wasn't. I wanted to be fair. I wanted to avoid becoming the jealous guy she kept implying I was. So I waited. I watched. I asked fewer questions and paid more attention. That was how I found the receipts. Not all at once. A hotel bar charge she said was a restaurant with coworkers. A transfer to a personal account after she told me she was short on her half of utilities. A few messages backed up on an old tablet we both used for streaming, not explicit enough to be some dramatic movie-style cheating reveal, but intimate enough to make my stomach twist. Evan called her my escape. She wrote back, "I wish I met you before everything got complicated." That was enough for me. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't call my family first to build a case. I waited until the next evening, after work, after dinner, after she asked why I was being quiet. Then I put a sheet of paper on the coffee table. Kara stared at it. What is that? A list of shared expenses you said you would cover or repay. The rent buffer, the emergency fund transfer, and the furniture deposit you moved to your account. Her face changed before she even read it. So now you're keeping score? She asked. No, I said. I'm ending the part where I pay for lies. She laughed once, sharp and dry. Wow. I know about Evan. I know about the deleted messages. I know enough that I'm done arguing about what counts. She stood up, crossed her arms, and started breathing like she was trying to keep herself from breaking apart. You went through my phone? No. I saw messages on the tablet, and bank transfers, and receipts. So you were monitoring me. I was checking an account with my money in it. You hear yourself, right? Yes, I said. That's why I'm staying calm. That made her angrier than yelling would have. Kara could handle heat. Heat gave her something to point at. Calm made her hunt for a different weapon. She walked around the living room, crying and talking at the same time. She said I was cold. She said I made her feel like a suspect. She said money should never matter more than love. She said Evan listened when I made her afraid to speak. I told her she needed to stay with a friend or I would stay somewhere else for a few nights while we separated our things. That sentence became important later. At the time, it was just practical. We were living together. We had shared furniture, shared bills, and years of our lives tangled up in closets and drawers. I didn't want a war. I wanted an ending. Kara wanted the first word. She went to my mother the next morning. I didn't know that until my mother called me at 4:18 in the afternoon. I remember the time because I was sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot, staring at the screen and thinking it was strange that Mom was calling instead of texting. Andrew, she said. Her voice was already thick. What did you do? The question hit me wrong. What are you talking about? Kara is here. My chest tightened. At your house. She's shaking. I closed my eyes. Mom, listen to me. We broke up because she lied about money and she says you controlled her money. I went silent. She says you watched her phone. She says you made her feel trapped. She says you told her she had to leave with nothing unless she paid you. That is not what happened. She showed me messages, Andrew. Of course she did. Not the full conversations. Not the messages where I asked, did you agree to cover this? And she said, yes, I'll send it next Friday. Not the earlier text where she admitted moving money without telling me. Not the part where I said I could leave for a few nights if she needed space. Kara showed my mother cropped pieces. Where are you? Why did you delete the message? You need to repay the money we agreed on. You can stay somewhere else while we separate things. Without context, I looked controlling, demanding, cold. With tears, Kara looked brave. Mom, I said carefully. I have the full conversation. She sniffed. That's what scares me, that you kept evidence against her. I remember staring at the shopping cart return in front of my car and feeling something shift. Not break yet, just shift. Evidence against her? I asked. Or context for me? I don't recognize who you've become, she said. I saved that voicemail later. At the time, I just sat there with my phone in my hand after she hung up. 2 days later, Mark texted me. Family dinner Sunday. You need to come. Don't make this harder on Mom. I thought it was going to be a conversation. I was stupid enough to think that if my family heard me out, they would at least slow down. When I walked into my parents' house that Sunday, I knew immediately it wasn't a family dinner. No one was in the kitchen. No one was laughing. The table wasn't set. My mother was sitting on the couch with tissues in her lap. My father was in his recliner, staring at the muted television like it might save him. Lindsay stood near the fireplace with her arms crossed. Mark leaned against the wall by the hallway. Kara wasn't there. She didn't need to be. My mother looked at me like I was a stranger who had walked in wearing her son's face. Sit down, Mark said. I stayed standing. No. Tell me what this is. Lindsay scoffed. You don't get to control the room, Andrew. That was the first time I realized they had already learned the script. Mom started crying before she spoke. She had no reason to lie to me. I looked at my father. Dad. He shifted in his chair. Let your mother talk. My mother said Kara had told them everything. That I had been monitoring her spending. That I questioned who she talked to. That I made her feel isolated. That I demanded money after the breakup to punish her. That she was scared I would twist everything. So she came to the family first. She said that. I asked. Lindsay snapped. Don't do that. Don't use that calm voice like we're all crazy. I pulled out my phone. The screenshots are cropped. I can show you the full thread right now. Lindsay looked disgusted. The fact that you saved evidence against her says enough. It says I knew this might happen. That's worse, Mark said. No, I said. What's worse is you deciding I'm guilty because someone cried in Mom's kitchen. Mom flinched like I had slapped her. She was brave enough to speak, Lindsay said. And now you want to bury her in receipts. I'm not asking you to choose me blindly, I said. I'm asking why you chose her blindly. Nobody answered. I turned to my father again. He wouldn't look at me. That hurt more than Lindsay's outrage. Lindsay was always loud when she thought she was righteous. Mark was always firm when he thought someone was embarrassing the family. My mother was always emotional. But my dad's silence felt like a locked door. Mark finally said, if you have any dignity left, stay away for a while. Get help. Let Mom breathe. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Let Mom breathe. You scared Kara, Lindsay said. I broke up with her. You don't get to make yourself the victim here. That was when I stopped trying. Not because I had nothing to say, because I realized they hadn't invited me there to hear it. I looked around the room where I had opened Christmas gifts, watched football, argued over board games, slept on the couch after late dinners, and celebrated every stupid little family thing we used to pretend mattered. Then I said, when you want the full story, ask. Until then, don't expect me to perform guilt for something I didn't do. My mother whispered, Andrew. I walked out anyway. The next morning, I was removed from the family group chat. It was such a small thing. Just a missing thread. 1 minute, the chat with the old pinned photo of all of us at my parents' dining table was there. The next time I opened my phone, it was gone. No birthday reminders. No jokes. No mom sending blurry pictures of recipes. No dad accidentally responding, okay, to memes he didn't understand. At 9:03 a.m., Marilyn texted me privately. We think distance is healthiest right now. I hope you use this time to reflect. I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Then I made a folder on my laptop. At first, I named it Kara. Then I changed it to full context. That felt less pathetic. I saved everything. Full text exports. Bank transfers. Payment app transactions with labels like temporary, rent help, and for later. Email receipts. Screenshots from the tablet. Voicemails. The list I had given Kara. The messages where she had agreed to repay specific expenses. The timestamps showing when she said she was at one place and charges put her somewhere else. I didn't send it to my family. That sounds strange, I know. People always imagine that when you have proof, you throw it on the table and truth wins. But truth does not win in a room full of people who have decided your proof is just another sign of your guilt. For a few months, I still tried in small ways. I texted Mark once. I have the full messages. Just read them. He replied, Mom is sick over this. Give everyone space. I texted Lindsay. You are repeating things that are not true. She replied, own what you did. That is the only way forward. I called my father 2 times. He didn't answer either time. A week later he texted, let things cool down. They never cooled down. They froze. Thanksgiving came first. I waited too long that week, pretending I didn't care whether anyone would invite me. On Wednesday afternoon, I saw a photo my cousin posted of pies lined up on my mother's counter. Kara's hand was in the corner of the picture, wearing a bracelet I recognized. I stared at that hand like it was a ghost. My cousin messaged me 10 minutes later. I thought you knew she was coming around. I'm sorry. I asked, is she there tomorrow too? He replied, I don't know how involved I should get. But yeah, I think so. I spent Thanksgiving eating a grocery store rotisserie chicken at my kitchen counter. I didn't cry. That almost made it worse. I just felt hollow, like my body had decided the emotion was too expensive. Christmas came. No invitation. My birthday came. My mother sent a text at 7:12 p.m. Hope you're well. That was it. The next year, Lindsay got engaged. I found out from a public post. Her caption said, can't wait to marry my best friend surrounded by everyone we love. Kara commented with 3 heart emojis. Lindsay replied, love you so much. I sat on my couch for a long time with my phone in my hand. I wasn't invited to the engagement party. I wasn't invited to the bridal shower, obviously. Then, 3 months before the wedding, Mark texted me. Lindsay asked me to tell you it would make people uncomfortable if you came. I read that sentence until it stopped looking like English. I wrote back, whose people? He replied, don't make this about drama. I almost threw my phone. Instead, I put it face down on the coffee table, stood up, and washed dishes I had already washed. The wedding photos went online the next day. My parents stood on either side of Lindsay, smiling like nothing was missing. Mark gave a toast. Kara was there in a pale blue dress, seated 2 tables from my parents, laughing in a candid shot with my aunt. My old seat at the family table had not stayed empty. They had filled it with the person who helped remove me. That was the year I stopped reaching out. I didn't block them. I didn't announce anything. I just stopped knocking on a door they had already locked. Life after that was quiet in a way that first felt like punishment and later felt like peace. I made friends who only knew the current version of me. I went to small dinners where nobody studied my face for guilt. I started saying no without explaining for 20 minutes. I learned that Sunday nights did not have to be spent wondering what my mother had told people about me. And then I met Natalie. It wasn't dramatic. No lightning. No instant rescue. She was a friend of a friend at a backyard potluck, standing near a folding table, trying to figure out whether someone had made the potato salad with mustard. She was funny in a dry, gentle way. When she asked about my family, I gave her the short version, the kind you give when you don't want to ruin a perfectly decent evening. "We're not close," I said. She didn't pry. She just nodded and said, "Sometimes that sentence carries more than people realize." That was Natalie. She noticed without grabbing. She listened without turning my pain into a project. Months later, when I finally told her the full story, she sat beside me on the floor of my living room while I showed her the folder. I expected horror, or maybe pity. She just read quietly. Every so often, her jaw tightened. When she reached my mother's voicemail, the one that said, "I don't recognize who you've become," she put the phone down gently. "Do you want me to say something comforting?" she asked. "Or something honest?" "Honest. They failed you," she said. "And you don't have to make that sound smaller, so they can feel forgiven." I loved her a little bit for that. Maybe more than a little. Natalie and I built slowly. We had quiet weekends. Grocery store runs. Bad movies. Arguments that ended with both of us still respecting each other. She never demanded passwords as proof of love. She never punished me with tears when I asked a question. If she said she would pay for something, she paid for it. If she needed help, she asked directly. It sounds boring unless you have lived the opposite. Then it feels like oxygen. When we got engaged, I didn't tell my family. I thought about it. I even drafted a text to my mother. "I'm getting married. I wanted you to hear it from me." I deleted it. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I could already hear the response. Shock. Hurt. Accusations that I had kept something from them. As if they hadn't taught me to keep my joy away from people who might use it as a courtroom exhibit. Natalie and I had a small wedding. Her family was there. A few close friends. My cousin came quietly and hugged me for a long time before the ceremony. "I should have said more back then," he whispered. "Yeah," I said. He nodded. "I know." That was enough from him, at least for that day. Natalie's mother, Elaine, adjusted my tie before the ceremony, even though it was already straight. "You nervous?" she asked. "A little." She smiled. "Good. Means you care." Then she touched my cheek in the casual, motherly way my own mother hadn't touched me in years and said, "You're not visiting family today, Andrew. You are family." I had to turn away for a second. A year later, our daughter Mia was born. Holding her for the first time cracked open parts of me I thought had sealed shut. She was tiny and furious and perfect. Natalie was exhausted, sweaty, and smiling like she had just won a fight with the universe. In the hospital room, Natalie's family came in with balloons and soft voices. Elaine cried. Natalie's father washed his hands twice before touching Mia, because he was nervous. My friends dropped food at the house. My cousin sent flowers. My parents did not know she existed. That sentence looks colder than it felt. It wasn't some grand punishment. It was protection. Mia was not an apology prize. She was not a bridge for adults who had burned every other one. She was a baby, and my first job was to keep her world safe. When Mia was 3 months old, Natalie's sister posted a photo from a backyard gathering. Nothing fancy. Paper plates, lemonade, a crooked banner that said, "Welcome, baby Mia," and me sitting in a lawn chair with Mia asleep against my chest. I wasn't tagged at first. Then a cousin commented my name, and suddenly the photo traveled. 2 days later, my mother texted. "We saw the pictures. Why didn't you tell us you got married?" I stared at the message during Mia's nap while the baby monitor hummed beside me. Before I could answer, another text came. "And a baby? Andrew, how could you keep this from us?" I laughed once, quietly, because the alternative was something heavier. I wrote back. "You told me to stay away from the family. I listened. Her reply came fast. That was years ago. We were hurt. We didn't know what to believe. I typed. I offered you the full conversations. She didn't respond for 9 minutes. Then, I am your mother. As if biology was a master key. That week, the messages started. Mark, we need to clear the air. Lindsay, you can't keep us from our niece forever. Robert, I would like to talk when you're ready. Marilyn, your mother has cried enough. That one made Natalie put down the bottle she was washing and say, absolutely not. I showed her the texts while Mia slept in a little bassinet near the couch. Natalie read them twice. Her face stayed calm, but her eyes didn't. I'll support whatever gives you peace, she said. But I won't let them use our family as their apology prize. They don't even know her, I said. That won't stop them from claiming her. She was right. I did not agree to meet them right away. I asked for time. That apparently offended them. Lindsay sent, I thought becoming a father would soften you. I replied, it did. That's why I'm protecting my daughter from people who discarded her father without reading one full conversation. She didn't answer. A few days later, I got a message from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Tessa. Tessa had been Kara's friend back when Kara and I were together. Not best friends exactly, but close enough that I remembered her being at dinners and birthdays. The message started with my name, then stopped. A second message came a minute later. I owe you an apology. I should have sent this years ago. My stomach tightened before I even opened the screenshot. It was from an old group chat. The timestamp was from the week Kara and I broke up. I recognized Kara's profile picture immediately. Tessa had sent the surrounding context too, not just one line. Kara had been telling 2 friends that I was trying to make her look bad over money and Evan. One friend told her to just block me and move on. Then Kara wrote, if his family hates him first, he won't have anyone left to tell. I read it 5 times. Tessa sent another message. I was scared of getting dragged into it. Then she did something similar to someone else. Same kind of screenshots. Same crying calls. Same money story. I'm sorry. I was a coward. I sat at the kitchen table while Mia's swing clicked softly in the living room. The strange thing about vindication is that it does not feel as good as people imagine. It doesn't repair the years. It doesn't put you back in wedding photos. It doesn't make your mother choose differently in the moment when choosing mattered. It just proves you weren't crazy. I saved Tessa's screenshot in the folder. Then I did nothing for 2 days. On the 3rd day, Mark called. I almost didn't answer. Then I stepped out onto the back patio and picked up. His voice sounded different. Smaller. Did you know about Kara's next boyfriend? He asked. No. I talked to someone. Long story. She used the same words. I waited. Controlling. Isolating. Financial abuse. Cropped screenshots. Missing context. He exhaled hard. Same cuts, Andrew. Same kind of money dispute. I looked out at the yard where one of Mia's tiny socks had somehow ended up near the patio chair. And now you believe me? I asked. He was quiet. Mark. Yes, he said. I believe you. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt 6 years tired. You had the chance to believe me when it would have cost you something, I said. I know. No, you don't. Not yet. He didn't argue. That was new. Within a week, the family wanted a meeting. Not a call. Not texts. A real meeting to clear the air. I hated that phrase. Air does not need clearing when people have been throwing dirt into it for years. Natalie asked me what I wanted. Not what they wanted. Not what would make me look mature. Not what would make the family comfortable. What do you want? She asked while we sat on the bedroom floor folding baby clothes. I don't know, I said. That's allowed. I don't want to scream at them. Okay. I don't want to hug them and pretend. Then don't. I don't want them here. Her answer was immediate. Then they don't come here. I met them at a neutral place. A quiet coffee shop with tables spaced far enough apart that nobody had to perform for strangers. I arrived early and sat closest to the exit. I had a printed folder with me, not because I planned to dump every page on the table, but because I needed to know it was there. Marilyn arrived first. She looked older. That was my first thought, and I hated myself for it. Her hair was shorter. Her face tightened when she saw me, like she might cry before she reached the table. Andrew, she said. I stood because manners are stubborn things. She opened her arms. Can I hug my son? I stepped back. Not before we talk. Her face crumpled. Really? Yes. Robert came in behind her and put a hand on her shoulder. Mark arrived next. Lindsay came last, sunglasses on her head, mouth pressed into a line. No one ordered coffee. For a few seconds, we just sat there. For people who had known me my whole life, and somehow looked like visitors from an old dream. Mom started. I'm sorry you felt abandoned. I held up one hand. No. She blinked. No. I didn't feel abandoned. I was abandoned. If we're starting with softer words than the truth, I'm leaving. Lindsay shifted in her chair. Mark stared at the table. Dad closed his eyes briefly. Mom swallowed. I'm sorry we abandoned you. The words landed, but they didn't heal anything. Not yet. She continued. I was trying to protect everyone. From me, I said. At the time, we thought. You thought what Kara told you because she cried and I didn't. Lindsay's mouth tightened. That's not fair. I turned to her. You refused to read the full texts. I thought reading them would be participating in some campaign against her. No. It would have been checking before you helped ruin my name. She looked away. Mark said, we made a mistake. I almost laughed again. A mistake is missing an exit, I said. You didn't make one mistake. You repeated it every holiday you didn't invite me to. Nobody spoke. I opened the folder, but only pulled out one sheet. A timeline. Not every receipt. Not every screenshot. Just dates. The Sunday dinner where you ambushed me, I said. The day I was removed from the group chat. Thanksgiving, where Kara sat at your table and I wasn't invited. Christmas. My birthday. Lindsay's engagement party. Lindsay's wedding. Dad's retirement dinner I found out about from a cousin. My wedding. Mia's birth. My mother flinched at Mia's name. You don't get to flinch, I said quietly. You didn't know her name because of choices you made. Tears ran down her face. I carried you. How can you keep me from your child? I leaned back, because for 1 second I felt the old reflex. The son reflex. Comfort Mom. Make it easier. Make the room less painful. Then I thought of Mia sleeping with her fists tucked under her chin. You being my mother did not stop you from treating me like a danger, I said. So no, being her grandmother does not automatically make you safe. Robert finally spoke. I should have answered your calls. I looked at him. He cleared his throat. I thought staying quiet would keep things from getting worse. It got worse for me. I know. His voice cracked slightly. I know now that silence picked a side. That was the first real apology in the room. Not perfect. Not enough. But real. Lindsay wiped under one eye with the side of her finger, angry at herself for crying. I thought I was standing up for someone who needed help, she said. You were standing on me, I said. She nodded once, barely. I don't know how to undo what I said about you. You start by correcting it with everyone you said it to. Her face went pale. You told cousins, friends, people at your wedding, whoever else, that I was controlling and unsafe. You don't get a private apology for a public accusation. I'll look insane, she whispered. I stared at her. Welcome to 1% of what you gave me. Mark rubbed both hands over his face. I told you to stay away, he said. Yes. I thought I was protecting the family. You were protecting the liar from the brother who had the proof. He nodded, and for once he did not try to reframe it. I saw the same screenshots from another guy, he said. Same cuts. Same missing context. I should have known when you offered to show us everything, and she only showed pieces. You should have known because you knew me. That one hit him. I watched it. My mother reached toward the folder. Can I see? I put my hand on it. No. Her eyes widened. Andrew, you had 6 years to ask. You don't get to satisfy your guilt by reading the evidence now like it's a sad book club. That's cruel, Lindsay said, but softly. No, I said. Cruel was letting me disappear and inviting Kara to Thanksgiving. Mom covered her mouth. I looked at each of them. Here is what I need to know. Did you come back because you finally know the truth, or because you saw I survived without you? The room went completely still. That was the question they had been trying not to answer since the first text. Because if the truth mattered, they had ignored it when I offered it. If family mattered, they had removed me from it. If regret mattered, it had arrived right after baby photos and wedding pictures, not after any one of the hundreds of days they could have wondered whether they had been wrong. Robert lowered his head first. Mark leaned back, eyes wet. Lindsay stared at the table. My mother whispered, I missed my son. I said, you missed the version of your son who would have made this easy for you. She cried harder, but I didn't move toward her. That was the hardest thing I did that day. Not the confrontation. Not the timeline. Not refusing the hug. It was letting my mother cry without turning myself into the bandage. After a while, I took another paper from the folder. 1 page. Conditions. I'm not promising reconciliation, I said. I'm offering a starting line. Mark nodded slowly. First, none of you contact Kara. Not for closure, not for answers, not to tell her off. I am not interested in a new drama where everyone pretends outrage is accountability. No one argued. Second, Lindsay corrects the narrative with every relative she influenced. Directly, not vague posts. Not mistakes were made. My name and the lie in the same sentence. Lindsay's mouth trembled. Okay. Third, Mark and I meet one-on-one if I choose. You are not invited into my home or family events yet. He nodded. Fourth, Dad, you and I can talk. But if you hide behind silence again, we're done. I understand, he said. I looked at my mother last. You get 1 short phone call a month at first. With me. Not with Mia. Not with Natalie. If you use that call to guilt me, push for access, or tell me how much you cried, we pause contact. Her face folded in pain. 1 call. 1 more than you gave me before you believed her. She looked like she wanted to argue. Then Robert put his hand over hers. Marilyn, he said quietly. Take it. She looked at him, surprised, maybe angry. He kept his eyes on me. Take what he is offering. That was the second real thing he did. Lindsay asked, what about Mia? My answer was immediate. No one gets automatic access to my daughter. I'm her aunt, she said, but the old force was gone. You are a stranger with a title, I said. Titles do not hold babies. Trust does. She cried then. Quietly. No performance. No speeches. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The meeting ended without hugs. My mother stood like she was waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. Mark said, thank you for coming, which was such an awkward thing for a brother to say that I almost smiled. Dad walked me outside. For a moment, we stood near my car like 2 men leaving a funeral. I should have been your father that night, he said. I looked at him for a long second. Yes, I said. He nodded. I'll spend the rest of my life knowing that. That doesn't fix it. No, he said. But I won't ask you to pretend it does. That was why he became the first one I allowed back in any real way. Not because his failure was smaller. It wasn't. But because he was the only one who didn't try to make his regret my responsibility. The fallout with Kara was quiet, which felt right. I didn't post a long public statement. I didn't tag people. I didn't send Tessa's screenshot to everyone with a dramatic caption. I was tempted once, late at night, when Mia was teething and I was exhausted and angry in that old familiar way. But I didn't. Truth spread the way lies had spread before it, just slower and with fewer tears. Mark told 2 cousins. Lindsay corrected 3 people, then 5, then more when one of them said, wait, I heard Andrew was dangerous. She had to say the words out loud. I repeated something I didn't verify. Kara lied. Andrew offered proof, and I refused to look. She hated every second of it. Good. My mother found out Kara had told different versions to different relatives. In one, I had taken her car keys. In another, I had threatened to empty her account. In another, I had banned her from seeing friends. A cousin quietly pointed out that on the weekend Kara claimed I took her keys. I had been out of town helping Mark move boxes into a storage unit. Nobody had checked because checking would have interrupted the story. Tessa's screenshot eventually reached enough people that Kara's credibility cracked. Then Mark's information about her next boyfriend broke it wider. People compared notes. The same phrases appeared. The same cropped messages. The same financial dispute turned into a claim of control. I didn't ruin Kara's reputation. I stopped protecting the lie that protected it. From what I heard, she called my mother once, crying. My mother didn't answer. Lindsay blocked her. Mark said if Kara contacted him again, he would send the full record to the people she was lying to now. I didn't care as much as I expected to. That surprised me. For years, I thought I wanted everyone to know. I imagined the moment my family would see the proof and feel the weight of what they had done. I thought vindication would feel like victory. It mostly felt like cleaning out a room after a flood. Necessary. Heavy. Nothing like celebration. The conditions changed things, but slowly. My mother struggled the most. The first phone call lasted 7 minutes because she started with, I just don't understand how you could go through a wedding without me. I said, we're not doing that. She started crying. I'm allowed to be hurt. Yes, I said. And I'm allowed to end the call when you make your hurt bigger than what caused it. Then I hung up. The next month, she did better. She asked how I was. Not how Mia was. Not whether Natalie hated her. Not when she could visit. Just how I was. I answered honestly but briefly. Busy. Tired. Good. She said, I'm glad you're good. Her voice broke on good. I let that pass. Lindsay took nearly 4 months to send me the apology I asked for. The first version was full of explanations. I sent it back with one line. This is about why you did it. I asked you to acknowledge what you did. The second version was better. Andrew, I publicly accused you of being controlling and unsafe without reading the full context you offered. I repeated Kara's claims because I wanted to feel like I was doing the right thing, and I hurt you badly. I helped isolate you from our family. I am sorry. I will correct this directly with the people I misled. I read it twice. Then I put my phone down and played with Mia on the living room rug. I didn't reply until the next day. Thank you for writing it directly. Keep correcting it. That was all. Mark and I met for breakfast once. It was stiff, but not hopeless. He asked questions he should have asked years earlier. I answered some of them. Not all. At one point, he said, I miss my brother. I said, you exiled your brother. He nodded. I know. I took a sip of coffee. Then miss me honestly. He looked confused. Don't miss me like I vanished, I said. Miss me like you helped send me away. He stared down at his plate and said, okay. That was progress. Ugly progress, but progress. Dad called every other Sunday after a while. Sure calls. No pressure. Sometimes we talked about normal things, a leaky faucet, an old baseball game, the ridiculous price of lumber. One day he asked if he could send me a book. I asked Natalie. She said, a book is not the same as access. It can be a first step. So Dad sent a picture book with a note addressed to me, not Mia. Andrew, thank you for allowing this. No expectations. Dad. I kept the note. My mother found out that Elaine was called Nana by Mia because Natalie's nieces and nephews already used that name, and Mia picked it up early. Marilyn took it badly, according to Dad. She said another woman had taken her place. Dad apparently said, no, you left it empty. I was not there, but when he told me, I had to sit down for a minute. Because that was the truth. Elaine had not stolen anything. She had shown up to the life my mother refused to believe I deserved. The first time my mother saw Mia was not in person. It was on a video call 8 months after the coffee shop meeting. Mia was on my lap, chewing on a soft block, completely unaware that the woman crying on the screen had once helped erase her father. Hi, sweetheart, Mom whispered. I watched her carefully. Mia held up the block and yelled nonsense. Mom laughed through tears. After 2 minutes, she said, she has your eyes. I ended the call at 5 minutes, exactly as planned. Mom didn't argue. Later, Natalie asked how I felt. I thought about lying and saying fine. Instead, I said sad, but not unsafe. She leaned her head on my shoulder. That sounds like the right direction. I don't know whether my family and I will ever be close again. People like neat endings. They want the liar exposed, the family crying, the wronged person magnanimous, the baby passed around, the holiday table restored. That is not what happened. What happened is quieter. My family learned that regret is not a time machine. My mother learned that crying does not move my boundaries. Lindsay learned that public judgment requires public correction. Mark learned that protecting the family image can destroy the family itself. My father learned that silence is not neutral when someone you love is being buried under a lie. And I learned that being calm does not mean being available. I still have the folder. It is saved offline now, tucked away where I don't have to see it unless I choose to. I don't open it much anymore. I don't need to prove the truth to myself. Last month, my mother asked if she could come to Mia's birthday party. I said no. Not forever. Just no. She breathed in shakily and said, okay. Thank you for telling me directly. That was new. After I hung up, I stood in the kitchen while Natalie frosted cupcakes badly, and Mia slapped her little hands against her high chair tray, demanding berries like a tiny queen. For a second, I saw 2 lives at once. In one, I was still outside my family's door, holding proof, begging them to let me back into a room they had filled without me. In the other, I was exactly where I was, home, with people who did not require me to bleed before they believed me. Natalie looked over her shoulder. You okay? I put my phone on the counter, screen down. Yeah, I said. I am. And I meant it. My family threw me away because Kara handed them a story that let them feel righteous. When the truth finally showed up, It did not give them a key back into my life. It gave them a chance to stand at the starting line and prove, slowly, that they understood what they had done. I'm not the son waiting outside the door anymore. I decide who gets invited in. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.